Hello everyone. In the previous video, we have seen the convolution theorem for the functions f of x and g of x. Okay, we have also derived the Parseval's relation. In this video, we will solve some examples and we shall also see one more property of the Fourier transforms. Find the Fourier transform of nth partial derivative of u with respect to x of the function ux, t, assuming that u and its first n minus 1 derivatives with respect to x vanish as x goes to plus infinity or minus infinity. Okay, so what is this quantity? It is partial derivative of u, nth order partial derivative of u with respect to x. Okay, clearly from here you can see that u is a function of two variables, that is x and t. Okay, so if we talk about the derivative of u, we need to specify what type of derivative we are talking about. Okay, it can be partial derivative of u with respect to x, or maybe the partial derivative of u with respect to t, as you can see here. Okay, or it can be the mixed partial derivatives. Okay, so because it is a function of two variables, u is a function of two variables, we need to the partial derivatives come into the picture. Okay, all this time what we have seen is, if f of x is a function, that means f is a function of x, only one independent variable was there. Okay, so we have seen the derivatives, so we have seen the Fourier transform of this function, or in general we have also seen the Fourier transform of rth derivative of the function f of x. Now because it is a function of two variables, we need to specify with respect to which variable it is differentiated, and that plain derivative d becomes dou. That means it becomes the partial derivative in this case. Okay, so we want to find out the Fourier transform of this quantity, assuming that u and its first n minus 1 derivatives with respect to x vanish as x goes to plus and minus infinity. Okay, so let us first decide one notation in order to represent the Fourier transform of such a function with respect to its first variable or with respect to x. Okay, so Fourier transform of usually how do we write? We write the function and alpha, because whatever Fourier transform we find, that is purely a function of alpha. Okay, so now here what will happen is, and we do the integration with respect to x when we find out the Fourier transform. Okay, now here it is with respect to it is with respect to x, but the function is depending on these two variables. Okay, and we will be finding the Fourier transform with respect to this x, so we will get alpha, and what will happen is, in the Fourier transform we will get Fourier transform as this. It will be a function of alpha and also that t, because you can see here from the definition of Fourier transform, how do we write the definition Fourier transform of this? 1 upon root of 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity u x, t e raised to I alpha x dx. Okay, so when we integrate it with respect to x, alpha and t will remain, and therefore this Fourier transform, instead of just u alpha, it will be u alpha t, and this is just to denote that Fourier transform is taken with respect to x. Okay, we are interested in finding the Fourier transform of this. We will proceed the same way as we did it for this function. That means the rth derivative of the function f of x. First we started with the first derivative and then we tried to generalize the statement. Okay, so the Fourier transform of this will be given by Fourier transform of this which will be equal to 1 upon root of 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity, then that function e raised to I alpha x dx. Okay, so that function we use integration by parts for this. Okay, so what we will get is, let us keep this 1 upon root of 2 pi outside, so it will be u x comma t e raised to I alpha x integration from minus infinity to infinity minus integral from minus infinity to infinity u x comma t e raised to I alpha x dx into, we are differentiating this now, so it will be I into alpha, I into alpha. Differentiation is with respect to, integration is with respect to x, so I can very well write this as I into alpha, it's outside. Okay, what we have assumed, u and its n minus 1 derivatives go to 0 as x, meaning they vanish as x goes to plus or minus infinity. So this term will vanish and we will be left with 1 upon root of 2 pi into minus I alpha into this integral from minus infinity to infinity u x comma t e raised to I alpha x dx. If I write it in this form, minus I into alpha, what is this quantity? If I remove this you can clearly see here, it is the Fourier transform of u x comma t with respect to x. So that will be u alpha t. Okay, which is the Fourier transform of u x comma t with respect to x. Next, in order to observe the pattern or how the Fourier transform of this will look like, let us evaluate it for the second partial derivative with respect to x. So Fourier transform of u x comma t this will be given by 1 upon root of 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity x square e raised to I alpha x dx. We use integration by parts. 1 upon root of 2 pi, here it will be e raised to I alpha x from minus infinity to infinity minus integral from minus infinity to infinity I into alpha into dou u by dou x e raised to I alpha x dx. So n minus 1 derivatives u and its n minus 1 derivatives are going to 0. So here n minus 1 is 1. So this will go to 0 as x approaches infinity to infinity or minus infinity. So this term will vanish. We will be left with 1 upon root of 2 pi into minus I into alpha integral from minus infinity to infinity dou u by dou x e raised to I alpha x dx. Again, if we use integration by parts, I into alpha, so this will be ux comma t into e raised to I alpha x minus infinity to infinity minus integral from minus infinity to infinity I into alpha, so ux comma t e raised to I alpha x dx. So again 1 upon root of 2 pi, this quantity will go to 0, that means this quantity will vanish and we will be left with, this should be here, this closed bracket, this quantity I in minus I into alpha is multiplied to this full and then it's the closed bracket, so this will vanish and we will be left with plus I into alpha into integral from minus infinity to infinity ux comma t e raised to I alpha x dx. Okay, again if you observe without this I into alpha, this along with this is nothing but u, Fourier transform of ux comma t but with respect to x. Okay, so I can write this as minus I into alpha the whole square, or maybe in order to manipulate that minus sign so that we get some similarity here as we have got it here. Okay, so minus 1 the whole square into I into alpha the whole square into u alpha comma this t. So this is the Fourier transform of this. Therefore, in general, the Fourier transform of nth derivative of ux comma t with respect to x is given by, so we want the Fourier transform of this. Okay, Fourier transform of this with respect to x will be given by Fourier transform of this x alpha is equal to 1 upon root of 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity e raised to I alpha x dx, and this will be equal to minus 1 raised to n into I alpha raised to n. If you still want to observe it one more time, you can take the third derivative and again calculate what it will be. In fact, instead of using 2 times the partial the integration by parts, what we could have done is, here itself we can see that it's the Fourier transform of this function. Yes, so from there also if we substitute, we will get the same result. Okay, so this will be into u of alpha comma t. So this becomes the Fourier transform of this function, this function wherein that u is a function of two variables x and t, and Fourier transform is with respect to x. Okay, we are also asked to find the Fourier transform of this, again with respect to x. So Fourier transform of this with respect to alpha will be given by 1 upon root of 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity e raised to I alpha x dx. Okay, now I will make use of the Leibniz rule, okay, but in reverse direction. Okay, what we do is, if we want to differentiate the integral, we make use of the Leibniz rule, right? Now here it's already in this form, here partial derivative. I will pull this partial derivative outside and I will write it as 1 upon root of 2 pi partial derivative with respect to this t integral from minus infinity to infinity u x comma t e raised to I alpha x dx. Okay, so if you see here, this is nothing but the differentiating this 1 upon root of 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity u x comma t e raised to I alpha x dx. Okay, why did I pull, meaning why am I allowed to pull this out? Because see here, there is no, this partial differentiation is for this u only. Okay, if there was also t involved in this function, then I directly cannot say partial derivative with respect to t of this function, because if it is that, then when you take it inside by Leibniz rule, what will happen is, you will have to differentiate this full function partially with respect to t. Okay, but in our case, this is completely independent of t. Okay, so when I take this inside by applying Leibniz rule, it will become the partial derivative. Okay, what will happen is, here there is only one function which is a function of t, so it will not affect, and this will be exactly equal to this. Now what is this? This we have already seen. It is the Fourier transform of ux comma t, which is denoted as capital U alpha t, and hence this will be u alpha t. Therefore, the Fourier transform of this is given by this ut alpha t. As we have proved earlier, okay, it can also be shown that Fourier sine transform of second partial derivative of u with respect to x is given by root of 2 by pi into alpha into ux comma t, this evaluated at x equal to 0, minus alpha square Fourier sine transform of ux comma t with respect to x, okay, and similarly Fourier cosine transform of this same function with respect to x is given by minus 2 root by pi into dou u by dou x evaluated at x equal to 0 minus alpha square Fourier cosine transform of this function, assuming that this and ux comma t goes to 0 as x goes to infinity. Okay, so when you start with this, if you directly apply the Fourier sine transform formula, what you will have is this quantity into sine alpha x d alpha. Yes, then when you integrate it by using integration by parts formula, there will be one term left with the limit 0 to infinity and first partial derivative of u with respect to x, like we were getting it here in the previous case. Okay, then with this assumption that term will go to 0. Okay, then whatever second term is left, again you will have to use integration by parts and integrate that term. By using the assumption this, again the first term there also will go to 0 and the second term will be retained. Okay, but at one of the limits, at infinity it will go to 0, but at the other limit, that is x equal to 0, it will be retained because there will be cos term there and cos of 0 is 1. So one term will be retained and this alpha will be the, because of the derivative you will get this term, and then this next the Fourier sine transform of ux comma t. Okay, similarly here also, but observe carefully, here ux comma t is remaining, here dou u by dou x is remaining. Okay, it is because this will be the Fourier cosine transform. So in the first time when you use integration by parts, there will be cosine term along with this term. Okay, and in the second time there will be along with u of x there will be sine term. Okay, and by using this assumption it will go to 0 at infinity, and at x equal to 0, because of the sine 0 is 0, that term will vanish and you will be left with this term minus whatever is the remaining. Okay, so easily you can prove these two by using by looking at the steps how we have done it earlier. Let us look at one more problem. If the Fourier cosine transform of the function f of x is given by this, then find f of x. Okay. If you remember, we have already seen that the Fourier cosine transform of the function e raised to minus ax is given by this into root of 2 by pi. Okay, the Fourier cosine transform of this function e raised to minus ax. Okay, now I have written the same thing, but instead of x as the variable I have taken alpha as the variable. Okay, and I have kept that x as the other one. Yes. Okay, then this will change, it will become x square. So we have already seen that the Fourier cosine transform of this function is given by root of 2 by pi into a divided by alpha square plus a square. Okay, now what I have done is I have just changed the variable. In place of x I have written it as alpha. Okay, so the Fourier cosine transform of this will be, so this integral will be equal to this. Here that root of 2 pi will get cancelled. Okay, that constant is manipulated. Now what we want is, we want to find out f of x, and Fourier cosine transform of fx is already given to us. Okay, so if we differentiate this with respect to a n times, okay, we want somehow alpha n, no? So if we differentiate it with respect to a n times, what will happen here? Differentiate, let's name that equation as 1. Differentiate 1 with respect to a n times. If we differentiate it with respect to a n times, what we will get is, differentiating with respect to a n times this quantity a divided by x square plus this square equal to differentiating this with respect to a n times. Okay, so when I differentiate it with respect to a, see here the integration is with respect to alpha. So when I take it inside, what will be the partial derivative with respect to a only of this function, and what will be that? Minus alpha into e raised to minus a alpha. Okay, the partial derivative of this with respect to a. So when I take the first derivative, what I will get is minus alpha integral from 0 to infinity e raised to minus a alpha cos of alpha x d alpha. When I take the second derivative, what will happen with respect to a? It will be e raised to minus a alpha into alpha cos of alpha x d alpha into again the minus sign. Okay, so minus alpha the whole square, it will be minus alpha, no? When I take the third time, fourth time, okay, so what will be the nth derivative? If I differentiate this expression n times, what we will get is minus 1 raised to n, I can take this in integral from 0 to infinity alpha raised to n e raised to minus a alpha cos of alpha x d alpha. Yes, this is what we will get. And if you read the question again, you will notice that we are actually interested in this quantity only, because if the Fourier cosine transform is this, we want to find out f of x. Okay, so what will be the formula for fx? Fx will be equal to root of 2 by pi integral from 0 to infinity this into cos alpha x into d alpha, and we are getting exactly that same quantity here. So let us simplify this. How do we simplify this. Before simplifying by using partial fractions, this can be written as, if I want to split this, a plus I into x plus 1 upon a minus I into x, because this is what a minus ix into a plus ix. I can write this in this form. Okay, so it will be a upon this. If I use the partial fractions, I can split it this way. Okay, so if what should be the coefficients, it will be a minus ix plus this will get cancelled 2 times a, so 1 by 2, it will be 1 by 2 times this. Okay, so I can get that it will remain as 1. Yes, so this will be 1 upon 2 times differentiating with respect to a n times this quantity. Okay, if we differentiate this with respect to a only once, what happens to this quantity? It will be minus 1 upon a plus I into x the whole square. Yes, if I differentiate it again with respect to a, then what it will be? This minus sign will remain, minus 2 into a plus I into x the whole cube. If I differentiate again with respect to x, what will happen? This minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, a plus I into x the whole raised to 4. Okay, so accordingly, if I differentiate it n times, what we will get is this minus 1 raised to n. Okay, 1, 2, 3 till n, so it will become n factorial divided by a plus ix raised to 1 power 1 index more, no, than n, so it will be n plus 1. Okay, and a similar thing for a minus ix. So we will be left with, after differentiating this with respect to a n times, we will get minus 1 raised to n into n factorial a plus ix raised to minus n minus 1 plus minus 1 raised to n factorial a minus ix raised to minus n minus 1. So if we can take this common out, it will be minus 1 raised to n. In fact, that minus 1 raised to n will get cancelled with this n factorial by 2 into a plus I into x raised to minus n plus 1 plus a minus ix raised to minus n plus 1. Then you all are familiar with the trigonometric representation of a complex number. So if I take this a plus ix, how I can represent it? You all must have seen this, a plus I times b. How is this represented? Some radius r, cos of theta plus I times sine of theta. Yes, the complex number can be represented in this way. So a minus ix will be r times cos of theta minus I times sine theta. Okay, and from there, if we solve, what do we get? We relate the real part and imaginary part. So this will tell us a is equal to r cos theta and x is equal to r sine theta. Okay, so r square, if I square this and add them, I will get what is r square. So r square will be a square plus x square, so r will be root of that. Yes, and theta is nothing but, if we divide this divided by this, it will be tan theta x by a. So tan inverse of x by a. Okay, or we can write it as tan theta equal to x by a. And therefore a plus ix raised to minus n plus 1 and a minus ix raised to minus n plus 1 will be what? A plus ix raised to minus n minus 1 will be equal to this raised to this number. Yes, so it will be r raised to minus n minus 1 cos of this expression raised to that number. I can take that angle easily inside. You all have seen this already. So it will be minus of n plus 1, but cos of minus theta is cos theta, so it will be n plus 1 theta plus I times sine of minus, so it will be minus sine theta. So minus I times sine of n plus 1 theta. And a minus ix raised to minus n minus 1 will be this cos of n plus 1 theta minus I times sine of minus, it will become plus sine of n plus 1 theta. And clearly from here, what do we want to do? We want to add these two expressions. Okay, so if we add this, that second term will get cancelled, we will be left with 2 times this. So what we will get is minus 1 raised to n into n factorial divided by this 2 into 2 times cos of n plus 1 theta and into r raised to minus n, so I can write it as 1 upon r raised to n plus 1. But what is this r? This r is, so that 2 will get cancelled, minus 1 raised to n into n factorial cos of n plus 1 theta, and r is a square plus x square raised to n plus 1 by 2, because this is r square, so that will be root and it will be n plus 1 by 2. Okay, so this quantity is equal to this, and that minus 1 will get cancelled, and hence what we will get is f of x is equal to so we started with this quantity, integral from 0 to infinity alpha raised to n e raised to minus a alpha cos of alpha x d alpha, differentiating it with respect to a n times. Okay, we arrived at this, but this is equal to this quantity. Okay, so that minus 1 raised to n and minus 1 raised to n will get cancelled. We will be left with integral from 0 to infinity alpha raised to n e raised to minus a alpha cos of alpha x d alpha equal to n factorial cos of n plus 1 theta divided by a square plus x square raised to n plus 1 by 2. Okay, so this is equal to this quantity, and hence what will be f of x? F of x will be root of 2 by pi times this quantity, which is this. So it will be n factorial into cos of n plus 1 theta into a square plus x square raised to n plus 1 by